I never thought the day would come when I would be summoned to the throne room of an alien queen. But here I was, standing in a hall that shimmered with colors I didn't even have names for, surrounded by attendants whose bodies seemed to be made of liquid light. The queen herself sat on a throne that hovered slightly above the ground, her skin an iridescent swirl of violet and green, eyes glowing with the wisdom of countless lifetimes. She looked at me with a gaze that could pierce my very soul. "You are to choose my next daughter," she said, her voice resonating directly inside my mind. "This is a task of great importance. Do not fail." I swallowed hard. Choosing her daughter wasn't like picking someone for a simple apprenticeship. This was a lifelong honor, a bond that could elevate the chosen one beyond anything imaginable, or ruin her if I picked unwisely. I had been brought here as an outsider, a human, because apparently, our species had a unique perspective the queen trusted. The room shimmered, and a series of doors opened behind me. Through each doorway, girls of various shapes and sizes appeared, each introduced by attendants. They stood in neat rows, silently waiting for my judgment. My eyes swept over them quickly. Some were tall, regal, and graceful, clearly trained from birth. Others were younger, timid, and awkward. I noticed the murmurs and snickers from the attendants. Most of the court seemed to have already written off one girl in particular. Her name was Lira. She was small, hunched slightly, with wild silver hair that stuck out at odd angles. Her eyes were wide and uneven, her skin had faint, strange marks across it, and her movements were clumsy, almost animal-like. Everyone laughed quietly as she tripped over her own feet when introduced. "Why would anyone choose her?" whispered one attendant, loud enough for me to hear. "She's hopeless." And that's when I knew. The Queen's directive wasn't just about selecting the obvious candidate. It was about insight, courage, and seeing potential where others saw weakness. I approached the line, carefully observing each girl. The tall, elegant candidates bowed with precision. Their smiles were perfect, their postures impeccable. I nodded politely to them but felt nothing. Then I stopped in front of Lira. Her eyes were wide with fear and confusion, and she tried to straighten herself, but her knees buckled slightly. I crouched down to her level and smiled. "Hello," I said softly. "I'm here to choose one of you. Tell me about yourself." She blinked, uncertain if she was allowed to speak. Her voice was barely a whisper. I try hard," she stammered. "But I always mess up." Everyone else snickered. But I saw something in her eyes. Determination. A spark of courage that wasn't polished or refined, but real. Most importantly, I saw resilience. The kind that could survive the pressures of being the Queen's daughter. "Sometimes the ones who try the hardest are the strongest," I said. "I think I'll choose you." Lyra's jaw dropped, and the room fell silent. For a moment I thought she might faint. Then the Queen leaned forward, her glowing eyes narrowing, as if testing my resolve. "Interesting choice," she said. "Most would have chosen the perfect candidates, those who look and act flawless. You choose the one everyone laughs at. Why?" "Because strength isn't always obvious," I replied. "Because she has something the others don't. She hasn't been polished by privilege, and she hasn't been molded to please anyone but herself. She will grow into her role, not be defined by it." The queen's lips curved into a faint, approving smile. Very well. Then Lira, you are chosen. Lira couldn't speak. She just stared, blinking rapidly, tears forming in her eyes. Her body shook, not from fear, but from the overwhelming weight of the moment. The attendants around her exchanged shocked glances, some still muttering under their breath. I took her hand and led her to the throne. The queen extended her hand, and Lira touched it gently, her fingers trembling. A surge of warmth and light flowed from the queen into her, binding her to her new destiny. Lyra's posture straightened, her eyes brightening with confidence. I could see the transformation even now. It wasn't magic alone, but a realization of potential. Over the following weeks, I stayed to help Lira adjust to her new life. She struggled with her lessons and ceremonies, and yes, she stumbled often. But every time she did, she got up. She laughed at herself, learned from mistakes, and slowly, imperceptibly, she began to earn the respect of those who had laughed at her. One evening, the queen summoned me again. Lira stood beside her now, poised and radiant. Her silver hair somehow tamed into an elegant, flowing style. She no longer seemed the timid, awkward girl I had chosen. You have done well, human, the queen said. Lira has grown beyond expectations. Tell me, what made you see what others could not? I don't know if I can explain it, I admitted. I just saw her. I saw that beneath her awkwardness, she had fire, and I knew she could rise. The queen nodded, her eyes softening. Vision is rare. Courage is rarer. You have both. Lira owes her beginnings to you. Lira stepped forward, bowing deeply. Thank you, she said simply, but there was power in her voice. She looked at me with something that felt like gratitude, admiration, and a promise all at once. Months turned into years. Lira grew into her role as the queen's daughter with grace and strength, surpassing all expectations. Those who had mocked her now bowed in respect. She became a symbol of resilience and the triumph of potential over perception. And every time she excelled, I felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing I had seen what no one else had. One night, standing in the palace gardens, Lira approached me. The twin moons of her world reflected in her eyes. You believed in me, she said softly, when no one else did. I just saw what was there, I replied. You did all the work. She smiled, the kind of smile that could warm even the coldest of hearts. But without you, I would never have had the chance. I watched her walk back toward the palace, her figure illuminated by the moons and the glow of the alien flora. I realized then that sometimes the most important decisions are not about choosing the strongest, the most perfect, or the most obedient. They are about seeing the hidden fire in someone's heart, giving them the chance to shine, and believing in them when everyone else laughs. And as I left the palace that night, I knew that Lira would become a queen of legends, remembered for her courage, her resilience, and the heart that refused to be defined by ridicule. I had chosen wisely, because sometimes the one everyone laughs at is the one the world will never forget. Months turned into years. Lira grew into her role as the queen's daughter with grace and strength, surpassing all expectations. Those who had mocked her now bowed in respect. She became a symbol of resilience and the triumph of potential over perception. And every time she excelled, I felt a quiet satisfaction, knowing I had seen what no one else had. One night, standing in the palace gardens, Lira approached me, the twin moons of her world reflected in her eyes. "You believed in me," she said softly, "when no one else did." "I just saw what was there," I replied. "You did all the work." She smiled, the kind of smile that could warm even the coldest of hearts. "But without you, I would never have had the chance."